In this lesson, we will look at unit on motivation. Motivation is a need or desire that energizes and directs our behavior. In this PowerPoint, we will look at several different theories of motivation. The first theory of motivation is a biological theory. This is called the instinct theory. So according to this theory, many of our behaviors are reflexes or instincts or unlearned behavior that is just passed on and in our genes. For example, salmon swim upstream to spawn. That's not something that they observe or they're taught. That's just instinctual. So many animal behaviors are instinctual. But humans, we also have many reflexes. Some that we're born with and continue throughout life, and others that we're born with and fade after infancy. For example, we've learned about the rooting reflex. If you brush a child's cheek, a child will open up their mouth and turn and root for food. Blinking. Blinking is a reflex that continues throughout life. If you blow a puff of air in someone's face, they'll continue to blink. So some of our behaviors are instinctual, but that surely doesn't explain many others that we have. The second theory is also a biological theory, the drive reduction theory. So according to this theory, some of our behaviors stem from us having a physiological need that's happening inside of us that causes a tension state. For example, we're hungry. So that motivates us to engage in a behavior or action to satisfy that need. So if you're hungry, you're driven to get food. If you are thirsty, you're driven to go get water or something to drink to satisfy that need. So you have a need and you're driven to satisfy it. The goal of this theory is homeostasis, having an internal balance. You don't want to be too full and you don't want to be too hungry. You want that normalcy, that internal balance. You don't want to be too cold and you don't want to be too hot. So if you're cold, you might find a blanket or a coat. If you're too hot, you may take the coat off. But we want that internal state, that homeostasis. The third theory is an external theory, an incentive. It's not something that is physiological or something biological happening inside of us. So an incentive is an environmental stimulus. So you're either motivated to get something positive, some reward or some reinforcer, or you're motivated to avoid something negative in the environment. So you're driven towards getting a reward or avoiding a punishment. Money is a great incentive. A lot of people will do things for money. So if you have a child and you want them to do well on your report card, you may promise them money. That would be a good motivator, an external incentive to get them to do something. We are extrinsically motivated by either intrinsic motivational factors or extrinsic motivational factors. The intrinsic motivators this is where you desire to do something because you want to, because you like to. You get pleasure from it. Whereas extrinsic motivation is doing something for external reasons, to get a reward or avoid that punishment. So let's say you like to exercise or you're a runner. Some people do it for intrinsic reasons. They enjoy it. They like being out there by themselves. It makes them think. They just enjoy having that stress relief. That would be an intrinsic factor. Extrinsic factors here would be running to stay in shape or to lose weight. Not really enjoying it, but doing it for that promise, that reward that comes with it. Sometimes if you have intrinsic factors or motivators, things that you want to do because you like it, but then someone gives you an external reward for it, you may never do it again just for those intrinsic reasons. For example, my children are 8 years apart. My oldest daughter, whenever I would have to go to the store or run anywhere for an errand, excuse me, I would say, "Can you watch your sister?" And she said, "Sure." She did it because she thought that's what she should do as a big sister, and she enjoyed it. But then I paid her one time. After that, she would no longer do that for those intrinsic reasons. She always expected that external reward for doing that, and that is called the over-justification effect. The fourth theory was proposed by humanist Abraham Maslow, and he calls his theory hierarchy of needs. He believed that we are motivated at different levels, and we have to have our physiological or biological needs met first, and then we can progress to more external needs. So, first of all, the physiological needs at the bottom must be met before you can think about or focus or be motivated to do anything else. You have to have food and water. And if you've ever went hungry for like half a day, you cannot focus on anything else if you're hungry. You have to have these needs met. So if your physiological needs are met, you have food and water, then one can focus on safety and security needs. Imagine if you lived in an environment that you feared for your safety. Again, you could not progress or be motivated to satisfy more external needs. So your physiological needs are met, you feel safe in your environment. The next level you move into is trying to find a friendship or a significant other, trying to find love and belongingness with others. If that need is finally met, that's the third, then we can start focusing on ourselves, trying to improve our self-esteem and our self-image, self-concept, and accept ourselves. So if those four needs are met, then we can progress to the highest level, which is called self-actualization. And that is fulfilling all of your needs, meeting your fullest potential, reaching your goals and dreams that you have set for yourself. And Maslow realized that not everyone will accomplish this. Sometimes people fall short in the dreams that they had for themselves, finding it maybe too challenging or doubting themselves for some reason. And finally, the fifth theory of motivation is called the optimal arousal theory. We like this optimal level of arousal. We don't want to be too stressed, and we don't want to be too understimulated or too bored. So if we're overstressed, we tend to do things like go take a walk or take a jog or talk to somebody about our issue. We have to get it out to bring us back down to that optimal level. And if you're too bored, you find things to stimulate you. Oftentimes, if you're sitting in a boring class, you may start to daydream or try to look at your phone just to stay awake and fight off that boredom. We like that optimal level. The Yerkes-Dodson law finds that we do work best at moderate levels for most tasks. Now, there is an exception for really complicated mental tasks. We like to have that moderate level or a little bit low. We don't want to be stressed and uptight and energized if we're trying to do some mental task. Easier tasks, not really easier, but tasks that don't involve mental cognition, such as maybe running, we may want to be overstimulated. So that might be an exception to that rule. We want that high energy if we're going to go out and run. But for most things, we do work best at those moderate levels.